Okay, I'm also going to just read the next bit, which is use in this book, so it's sort of like how it's going to be laid out. So it's a dip-in reference book, but obviously for the purpose of this video I'm just going to be going through all of it because I think any advice or any sort of anything to help with grammar is going to be beneficial to anyone's writing, so I'm just going to read it for everyone. This book is not designed to be read from cover to cover, ignoring that. You'd have to have a real hunger for grammar to do that, and if you have, you're probably the sort of person who's looking for typos and advice you don't agree with. If that is your aim, then hopefully I've annoyed you already by starting too many sentences with conjunctions and ending too many with prepositions, because that's another thing. I mean, creative writing, there is obviously, because it's creative writing, there's an element of creativity, and there's nothing wrong with starting a sentence with and oh, it's so frustrating when you do get the, dare I say it, the grammar Nazis who are like, oh, this is wrong, and it's like, but it's creative writing, there has to be leeway. It's not like you're writing an essay. Seriously though, thanks for buying Grammar for Grown-Ups. So looking up stuff, there are two indexes. A basic contents at the start, use this to look for a broad topic, so example, semicolons or prepositions. A detailed index at the end. This covers all the grammar points in this book. They're indexed under multiple headings to help you find them. For example, the mistake, R's, they've got R and then an apostrophe S, is listed under absolute possessives, oh god, apostrophes, R's and pronouns. And they've got the numbers to go with it. Use of italics. All the examples in this book are written in italics. Words quoted from the examples are also in italics. I would have used speech marks, but unfortunately Americans and Brits can't agree on whether punctuation should be inside or outside speech marks. We do inside. As this book seeks to cover both US and UK writing conventions, I've avoided the issue by using italics where other words would probably have used speech marks. Also, to make explanations easier to read, I often use italics to group words, especially definitions. Grammar perfectionists will note I've been quite inconsistent in this practice. Each decision to use italics was based on the length and complexity of the phrase, in brackets, e.g. the definition, and the structure of the sentence. Basically, if I thought it helped the explanation, I've used italics. Purists can either live with that or tuck themselves to sleep each night until they get over it. I love this guy. Graphics. The following tags are used throughout the book. Greek says, to introduce grammar terminology or stuff your mates would beat you up for knowing. Beware. To highlight grammar crimes that can seriously affect your credibility. I'm going to be looking at that one because I know I've done a lot. Opportunity. To highlight opportunities to show off your writing skills. Ooh. Great tip. To help you work around complicated grammar explanations. That's really helpful because it does get so confusing when you try to do it yourself without having like a book. It's so hard. You can spend hours scrolling the internet and you get such contradicting advice, and also it's really hard, like if you don't, like I personally don't know all these grammar terms. Like I come from an English literature background, which is books, and yes, we do analyse language and everything, but not to the, and we do look at structure and everything, but it's not to the extent of knowing grammar. Like it's a lot more about writers' techniques and the actual craft of writing and the impact that creates and the messages and all that sort of stuff. So if you're an English language student, you probably have more experience with grammar, whereas personally I don't. So this is going to be very helpful for me, and hopefully for anyone who stumbles across this video too. And then bad tip to highlight common misleading advice. That is good. There's a tick and it says right, in brackets, or best, across, wrong or dodgy. So writing voice. Unless you're writing a note to your drinking buddies, I recommend you don't copy the tone and style I use in this book in your formal documents. In an attempt to keep you engaged, I have littered the book with contractions, don't, can't, one-word sentences, yep, but one-word sentences, once again, creative writing, and the Anglo-Saxon versions of words, leave, not depart, get, not acquire. Sometimes writing in this style can be useful in formal writing, but not often in my experience. Yeah, you don't generally you don't want to use contractions when you're writing a formal essay because it's abbreviations, which is like everyday language, whereas essays are meant to be a more formal, like they are formal. Where have we gone? You must think about the tone and style or writing voice that best suit you, or more importantly, your company, or like your university or your college or whatever you're writing for. This book touches upon developing your writing voice. Oh, yay! But it's predominantly a grammar reference book. So, deliberate repetition. To keep this book under 300 pages and to avoid too much repetition, I often send you to other sections for a more in-depth look at a subject. However, you will notice, particularly if you read this book from cover to cover, that few topics are covered more than once. This is deliberate. My rationale is that if you want to learn about commas, you want it all in one place. Yes. If you want to learn about semicolons, you want it all in one place. So, a subject which belongs in commas and semicolons appears in both. Everyone who proofread this book picked me up on this point. I know proofreaders rarely do you a disservice, but in this case I stood my ground and kept the repetition. Within the sections you will also notice repetition and a lack of literary variance, using two words which mean the same thing in nearby sentences to keep writing interesting. This is also deliberate. You see, repetition is the mother of learning, Russian proverb, and I wanted clarity, above all else, to determine the writing style of the explanations. Examples and anecdotes for added spice. This is a grammar book. I doubt it will have you rolling off your chair with laughter. Worse, it's a grammar reference book. To combat that handicap, I have sought to fill it with spectacular quotes which I have been collecting for the last decade. The quotes are provided by a wide range of contributors, from Homer, yay, the Greek, to Homer the Simpson. I've even added for a few relevant anecdotes of my own to help your eyelids north of your eyes. In my explanations and recommendations, I've gone as grammar lit as I dare. This book is aimed at those who have reached a position that requires them to produce high-quality correspondence. I strongly suspect if you are interested in grammar, you'll know all this gumph already. Nope. But please plan on learning some grammar terminology. It's so much easier to discuss grammar when we're all using the same words. Well, I do know some, it's just I don't know it in depth, so hopefully this will help. Writing conventions. My website, www.grammar-monster.com, has been running for around a decade. Before I wrote it, I read all the leading grammar reference books and style guides. I know that's a bit sad, but I was intrigued how much they contradicted each other. Yes. When I first launched the website, the number of people who got in touch to say the advice on my website was wrong was staggering. Their points of view were almost always backed up by only one of the reference books. However, I'm very grateful to these critics because our arguments have allowed me to tune this book, either by softening wording or offering alternative versions to rules. Some of the critics, if then buy this book, will even stumble across the examples they use to make their points. I've noticed that grammarians have different levels of leniency when it comes to grammar rulings. Until someone burns all the books and writes a grammar bible, I suspect grammarians will be at war with each other for many years to come. If you're a bit of a grammar pedant, and I still haven't tuned my advice to your liking, you can write to me at file 13 at grammar-monster.com. Crumpy sod. I'm aware that 25 years of being red-penned and red-penning in high-pressure environments have turned me into a bit of a grumpy sod. I'm sorry if that's too evident in the book. I genuinely want to make things easier for you. It's the old chestnut. I went through it, therefore you don't have to. That's the plan. There's a plan. Oh, I can't wait. This guy's brilliant. Really looking forward to this. Bye.